This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, but rocking a beautiful Toronto background behind me because, well, I love Toronto. And I'm going to be there next week for Frightmare in the Falls. And I'll be spending a week in Toronto, enjoying it because I work 80 hours a week on two cleaning jobs here. So I kind of need the break. So anyway, I'm looking forward to it, and it should be a lot of fun. You know, folks, 2024 has been an interesting year for movies, especially independents, and I like movies of all sorts. We got our third in the Ty Webb's trilogy, Maxine. I loved X. I loved Pearl. I enjoyed Maxine. I enjoyed Cuckoo. We got Smile 2 out right now. We got Terrifier 3 out right now. Well, you know what else came out this year? It was a little independent movie in the vein of the Friday the 13th franchise, but kind of shot from a very, very different perspective. Folks, I give you the killer of In a Violent Nature. He's cleaned himself up a little bit, he threw that mask away, but I think he got tired of law enforcement pinpointing him down that mask. We got him here. He might get raided as we talk. Folks, I give you the awesome Rye Barrett. Now, did I get your first name right, Rye?
Yeah, you got it right.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's just Ryan. I just go by Rye as an actor because it's easier to search, and there's too many Ryan Barretts out there, so that's why I go by Rye.
There you go. There you go. It's funny when I connected with you, it's like so few people even know where New Brunswick is to the point where I've lost hope for the province. It's so backwards here, you know? So it's so surprising that I'm surprised anybody, even Canada, knows where we are here, It's so
Well, I've been there pretty often, man. We some of my family is actually from New Brunswick, and we have family reunions there up around the Bay of Chaleur. So I've grown up coming and visiting the East Coast, and my partner is actually from Prince Edward Island. So I go there to visit her family, and so I know the East Coast very well, and I love it.
I've interviewed a couple of people that did that independent comedy, Who's Your Daddy,
Oh, okay.
last year.
Yeah.
Did you
Jeremy
see
Lund,
that?
that gang. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a couple of them on last year. I enjoyed that film.
Yeah. He's a good dude. His stuff's hilarious. I know
Well,
him and Jason Arsenault. I don't know Jeremy that well personally, but like we've messaged and talked and stuff. But I met up with Jason Arsenault, he's worked with a bunch of times.
have you met the Trailer Park Boys?
I haven't met them personally. No, I've met. I'm friends with Warren Sonoda, who directed a bunch of their episodes, and he directed SwearNet and a bunch of stuff. So I feel like I've kind of met them by proxy of meeting him, but no, I mean, I'd love to meet them. They're friggin' hilarious. They're legends.
Did this guy direct Swearing at the movie?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow. I'd love to have him on because I interviewed Howard Jerome, who was in that movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's funny because I saw that in the theater and I get so annoyed that they're always talking about the Wolf of Wall Street. The Wolf of Wall Street had the most profanity of any movie. Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. There's SwearNet's definitely a contender there. That's for sure.
Actually, according to online, Swearing at the movie had 935 F-bombs.
Yeah, there was a lot. I saw that in theater too, so I was
Yep.
laughing my ass off.
I love the Trailer Park Boys. Yeah,
Oh, great.
so absolutely, absolutely. Wow. So So it's interesting to make this connection. I'm number one, congratulations on your success with In a Violent Nature, you know. We didn't get it here in Fredericton. Um, but I grew up with the Friday the 13th franchise, which is what this film is most closely being uh, referenced with.
Hmm.
Yeah. But before we get into this in detail, I want to get a little bit of your background. What led you to get into the industry?
Um, I mean, I've always been a huge movie geek. I've loved cinema of all, of all kinds, and obviously growing up in the '80s too, like just a huge horror. Same thing, like Friday the 13th is, it's been one of those staples that's kind of always been there. And me and my brother used to watch it with my cousins and watch all the series and all that stuff. So I just kind of never thought growing up in Guelph, Ontario, like just outside about an hour or so outside of Toronto, it was just never something I thought I could actually do as a career. And then a couple of my friends, one they were just tooling around with they had gotten one of the new mini DV cameras back in this was like 2001, 2002, and they wanted to try and shoot a movie just for the hell of it. And so they invited me to come, and I had been working on like I was in drama and stuff, but I'd been working in like communications department for in high school, literally just doing editing and that kind of stuff. So I thought they were going to want me as like a someone behind the scenes sort of or behind the camera or doing something on the crew. And then they asked me to play the lead in that, and so I was just like, oh yeah, for sure, this is fun. And it's basically like an Evil Dead ripoff. It's like it's a horror comedy. It's not a great film, but for the time and for us, for the team of people who did it, it turned out half decent. I mean, for a first run at it, and it got picked up by Lionsgate and got universal distribution. So we all kind of thought we'd made it at that point, but I mean, obviously, we got a dose of reality, and then we just kept making films, and everyone on that, the core group of people on that one, kind of branched off and kept, and it's still making movies. Like the directors of that one are still separately making movies. The cinematographer for that one is like a amazing cinematographer now and photographer for like National Geographic, and I'm still acting and writing and producing whenever I can do that stuff too. So it was a great start, and it was like such a it felt like fate because all like that core group of people who were involved in that are still doing it. So
That is awesome. I'm just looking through you on IMDb here, and you have quite the list of credits, which I'm hoping people will check out. You know, I'm hoping
yeah, the love that we're getting for In a Violent Nature is it's great for everything that we've done before and everything that I mean Canadian film in general. I think it's great. It's kind of shining a light on other stuff too. So I hope that some people will maybe go back and see some of that stuff too, who might not have gotten the chance to look at it.
yes, that is excellent, excellent. Well, here's we were talking Friday the 13th, and you mentioned you and your cousins and whatnot. And I've told this story before, but I remember I was afraid of horror films growing up. I had an uncle that owned a video store, and I was petrified of horror films. And I remember I was visiting my cousins and my older brother. I got two brothers, an older and younger. My older brother baited me into watching Friday the 13th Part Two, and it became the first time I've seen a naked woman on screen, ever seen a naked woman. Thank you, Kirsten Baker. Looking back, I'm like, not a bad way to start with that. And anyway, I just remember on the like when the moment she appears naked in the lake, that was the moment Mom come in and turned the TV off.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I remember on the ride home, it was like, because they ended up turning it back on, and of course I kept watching. People say, "Why'd you keep watching?" Why? Because I needed to see this killer with the sack over his head get his comeuppance. And I was sadly disappointed on the ride home because it was like he's still out there. He's still out there. And I've had Warrington Gillette on the show here before, so
Oh, right on.
I know he's the reason that he's still out there because he made that leap to the window.
Yeah, the springboard, the classic shot there. I actually just watched part two again about a week ago. I've been kind of going through different I mean, I'm constantly watching the series, but I'll watch this one here and around Halloween I usually try to watch, a couple of them at least. So that one's fresh in my I just watched part two and part six, which are actually a couple of my favorites.
My go-to is parts 4 and part 6. And I'm good friends with Nancy McLaughlin from part 6. Actually, I talked to her. I do work as a cleaner. I was working overnight last night. Well, I was talking to Nancy before I was at work because she had called me and wanted to me to look up somebody on IMDb that somebody that was connecting with her and this and that. And so I was like, okay.
That's cool,
So,
man.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh
part
yeah.
six is I love it, man. It like front to back, it's just such an entertaining entry, and like it's kind of the midpoint of the series too. So like it still has flavors from the first five of them, and then it has kind of where it goes after. So it's kind of right in the middle there. And it's got that sweet spot of just being like a great example of just like an 80s slasher movie.
Well, I've had a number of people on the show from that movie. Like I said, I'm still very connected with Nancy McLaughlin. She's been on here five times, and
Oh, cool.
Tom McLaughlin's been on here a couple times. Tom Matthews been on here 3 times, and
All right on.
yeah, yeah. Whitney Rideback, who we lost this year, he was on once, and he was one of the paintballers. I've had 3 of the paintballers on,
That's cool.
and yeah, and Carrie Noonan's been on here. Roger Rose has been on here. It's yeah, I've had a few of them. I haven't had CJ Graham yet, although one of my favorite interviews I've done was with Ted White. I've had him on a couple times before he passed, and I've got a signed hockey mask from him.
Oh, that's very cool, man. He's the real deal. Like he goes back, he did stunts and stuff way ahead of time too. Like yeah. And I mean
Well,
him,
yeah.
CJ Graham, Warrington. I appreciate a lot of what all those guys did and what they all kind of created their own version, and it's a lot of fun watching each one and just see, they connect, but they're slightly different.
Well, Ted White to me is what Jason really ultimately should be because he was terrifying in the
Mhm.
final chapter, So that's the one I usually watch on Friday the 13th is part 4.
Yeah, part four is great.
Yeah.
It hits that sweet spot too of still being full on horror. There's little comedic moments here and there, but it's much more of a horror film too. But it is, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. But yeah, part 4 and 6 are my favorites of the franchise. I got that big box set here too. But I remember that was the one my older brother had told me to watch because he said that Jason gets his comeuppance. His big thing with me, he said, Greg, why do you hate horror films? I said, because they scare me and they're bloody and gory. Well, his argument was, I enjoy watching movies like Conan the Barbarian and Beastmaster. And he was like,
Classic.
those have blood and guts in them. And he did have a point, but here was my argument. Jason wasn't fighting Conan
It's
because
true.
I guarantee you Conan would not have backed down.
No, that would have been a fun one to watch, actually, though.
And he would have got a lot more than a kick in the nuts from Amy Steele
That
from Conan.
maybe that's what we need for another Friday the 13th entry, man. Jason versus Conan. I'd watch the hell out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I watched the final chapter because he said that Jason died and he was right. And I watched it like this, but I got through it and it's kind of like because at the time my uncle's video store, they only had parts two, three, and four.
Right, right.
So I was like, let's go back and then we'll watch these three back to back. I was like, I want to give this a dive. So now I like movies of all. I like all kinds of movies, all genres, but I definitely have a love for the horror franchise. Alfred Hitchcock was the one that changed how I view movies. Because Psycho was my first film screening I've seen. That was in 1996.
Yeah.
And I had his granddaughter on here in
Oh,
2016. Yeah, that was
that's
interesting.
really cool.
Yeah,
I'm a big Hitchcock fan too, so that's rad, man.
I love Hitchcock. And through his movies, it allowed me to, like, I love Psycho, obviously, but looking at films like Rear Window and Vertigo allowed me to be introduced to James Stewart.
Hmm.
Looking at North by Northwest and To Catch a Thief allowed me to be introduced to Cary Grant. I could look at his films, and of course Grace Kelly. Nice.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. It was I was introduced to I was aware of who Hitchcock was, but I just didn't, and I'd seen clips of this, that, and whatever. But my dad, it was like a rainy day, and I was like, I would have been like 9 or 10 years old. My dad brought home Vertigo, and we watched that, and from that point on, I was like, this is amazing. So then I went on a deep dive and found everything Hitchcock that I could too. So I get that.
I love Hitchcock, and I had the woman that doubled Janet Leigh in the shower scene in Psycho on here as well. So um, that was interesting.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, I love Hitchcock's movies. So, but again, I like horror movies of all kinds. Like some of my favorites are like Dress to Kill by Brian De
Oh, yeah.
Palma's favorite. I love
Very
Abel.
Hitchcockian that one.
I
They
Dress to
it's
Kill's my favorite De Palma
yeah,
film.
it's a great De Palma film. I love De Palma too.
Yeah, I had Nancy Allen on here for 2 hours, and out of that 2 hours, we talked about Dress to Kill for probably an hour of it.
Yeah, I can see that. She's great. I love her in that and in Blow Up specifically too. Like those two are just she's great.
Yeah, and I love Abel Ferrara's Miss 45 with Zoe Tamerlis Lund.
That's a good Halloween one.
I've had her widow on here 5 times because Zoe, of course, gone too soon. And her widow sent me um piece excerpts out of her diary.
Oh wow.
So I got her handwriting. It was just like he sent it through me on the computer, but I thought that was interesting because she went way too soon. I love Miss 45 and stuff like Black Christmas and I like Dario Argento. There's a lot of these I love. I was born in 1972, so I grew up with all of this.
All the good stuff.
So yeah. So I remember a lot of this when a lot of the stuff came out, but
That's
and
very cool.
and I saw about half the Friday the 13th franchise in theaters. Um, we saw part seven when it came out, and my older brother and I saw it, and I don't know how we get in because he was 17 and I was 15. How we pulled that off, I don't know. But
Yeah, the 80s, man.
we
Same.
got
I
in.
snuck into me and my brother snuck into a bunch of stuff. Somehow I never got to see a Friday movie in theaters. Like I was because I'm an 81 kid. So like I grew up with it there, but I didn't really get to fully start seeing stuff until like the later 80s. And that was by me sneaking in to see stuff or like, watching rentals that my parents or brother had rented and then like waking up early in the morning and putting it on before they got up. And then stuff like that. I actually used to Do you remember when like the Super Channel, like the movie channel would be scrambled?
Yep.
Like if you didn't pay for the subscription. I used to watch them scrambled because you could still hear it. So, but I was like, as a kid, I just wanted to see these movies that I couldn't see yet. So I'd be sitting there listening to it and watching the scrambled picture and trying to figure out what it looked like.
Well, I saw part seven, um, Jason X, which the less we the less I talk about it, the better.
Some fun kills though. There's a couple of fun kills in
Fun
that.
kills, but boy, it was a horrible movie. But we didn't get Jason Goes to Hell here. That was the only one we didn't get here in town. But I saw part seven in the theater. I saw Jason X. I saw Freddy versus Jason in the theater. I saw the reboot, which I look at more as in the line of a sequel than I do a reboot. But you
Yeah,
know,
I did see. I saw that. I saw that one in Freddy versus Jason, and I saw those ones in theaters because they were like,
now
yeah.
the original Friday the 13th I seen at a midnight screening. And then in 2019, when I was in Toronto for Horror Rama, um, there was a screening at the Drunken Cinema
Oh
of
yeah.
Jason Lives.
Oh nice.
And I went to that. And I remember posting on Facebook about attending it. And the following night, I was attending a Christmas party with a friend of mine. And my phone rings, it's Nancy McLaughlin. And I said, "Hey, Nancy, I watched you last night." And she goes, "I know."
That's cool. I
Yeah.
know Serena who runs the Drunken Cinema stuff. She programs at the Review Cinema now. But yeah, those are fun screenings. I still have to see that on a big screen though. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Toronto. I lived here my whole life. And in 2017, my third year into doing my podcast, I had an actress, Lisa Langlois, on here from the movie
Okay.
Class of 1984.
Yeah.
And we got talking about travel. And she was like, "You've never been outside New Brunswick?" I said, "Well, I've been to Prince Edward Island, but I've never been anywhere." And she goes, "Would you like to assist me at Horrorama in Toronto?" And I said, "I'd love to." And she invited me to assist her at that event.
Oh, cool.
It was my first time on a plane, and I got to admit, I dug it. I was nervous about it until I got on board, and I was like, "This is like taking a bus, you know?"
Yeah.
And I love,
The most nervous, the nerve-wracking part about the flights all the time is going through everything and then getting once you're on the plane, it's all good. But it's like, yeah, going through security and just going through checking your bags, like making sure that you're at the right gate, all that stuff. I didn't do a lot of flying. Like I did a little bit here and there, but in the past year, it's been a lot, and I've had a lot of connections, and I've had barely just catching a flight just on time kind of thing too. So it's like, yeah, it can be stressful.
well, I enjoyed it, and I love Porter Airlines a lot.
Yeah, Porter's great.
And yeah, but I remember landing in Toronto. It was the first time I'd seen escalators since the 80s because we don't have them here anymore. And it was fun revisiting that from my youth. And when I remember when I get up because I took the tunnel. We landed on Toronto Island. I took the tunnel, and when we got up above ground, I called Lisa because Lisa met me because Lisa was going to show me around, and I got on that shuttle bus. And I met her at Union Station. And it was interesting seeing her in person. She's been on here a couple times, and I love Class of 1984.
Oh yeah,
And
it's a classic.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I had her on her. And since 2017, like she was on here in 15 and 17, and she and I have been friends ever since. Um, I've assisted her at a few events,
All right.
and she taught me how to use the subway system, which I really dug. and the streetcars. And I was just like, man, I love the city. I love Toronto. I want to get moved there. I had a job lined up there. And the only thing stopping me from it is that I couldn't find a place I could rent there that wasn't going to put me in debt for the rest of my life. And that
Yeah,
bothered me. And I don't want to get political. And I don't judge anybody for who they vote for. But I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm totally voting against Justin Trudeau at the next election. I'm just going to say it. But uh, I don't I don't like what's become of this country and
yeah. The rent here is it's ridiculous, man. Like just the cost of living in Toronto is actually just honestly just ridiculous right now. And a lot of issues in Toronto are to deal with Doug Ford too. So it's just a weird situation. Hope things level out and but is what it is. Other than that, there's a lot of great people here, and there's yeah, like if you love cinema and you love like going to festivals and all that kind of stuff, like there's no shortage of that. And there's such a great fan base for movie lovers and great programming at some of the rep theaters and stuff too. So
yeah. But I'm going to see Lisa when I go into Toronto Thursday. So
oh, right on,
yep,
nice.
she and I always connect when I go to Toronto. So that's always fun. And I assisted her at Frightmare in the Falls last year, and she was the one that helped me get my passport because she said, you might want to do some cons in the States. So I did Chiller back in April with her. My
Oh,
first time in the States. So
where was that one?
New Jersey.
Oh, okay, right on. I've
Yep.
heard of that one. I've just started doing U.S. conventions too, so yeah, it's like a whole other experience, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. But I work as a cleaner. I work for two cleaning companies here, and I'm hoping eventually maybe to make that move to Toronto. I'd love to move there. But everybody here tells me I shouldn't. And I'm like, yeah, but I hate to sit here and harp on New Brunswick, but it's like nothing's happening in New Brunswick, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, there's from some stuff that I've been hearing lately, there's a bit more of a scene that's starting to happen with like films being shot there. What's the Institute? Stephen King's The Institute is shooting, I think, partially in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and I think there's another, I want to say Revival or something is shooting in New Brunswick. But there's been a big push for filming out on the East Coast. So like I mean like Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, they've all been getting a lot more stuff happening there. So that's good for everybody too, because that just brings more that direction too, right? So hopefully it gets even bigger in the next few years and just pops off.
well, if there's ever a movie with Emma Stone shooting up here, I will let her stay here for free. Anyway, but enough about me. I am going to be at Frightmare in the Falls, and so I'll see you there. And but in a violent nature, one of the things that caught my attention in that is I've had one of your fellow cast members on the show here um, uh, back a couple years ago, and that was Lauren Marie Taylor. Speaking of Friday the 13th Part Two,
Yeah,
and I met her at Frightmare in the Falls, and she is such a delightful woman.
yeah. Lauren's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
She's great.
So I'm like, wow, Lauren is in this, you know. Do you know because I interviewed her before she was involved with this. Do you know any of the dealings of how she got involved in the movie?
Well, I know that the guys like early on they wanted to have somebody from either the Friday series or Halloween or somebody who would be recognizable in that role, but they didn't want it to be like the lead or a killer. They wanted it to be someone in those movies, but not like somebody that that might take away from the scene too, like that the people would know and recognize that mattered and that cared about that. But then also, not just to throw like somebody who played one of the killers or which I mean, they might have gone that way too if somebody approached them and they said, "Hey, I want to do it." You know what I mean? But they approached Lauren, and I'm so happy they did too because she absolutely killed her scene in the film, and it's not an easy scene to kill at the end of a film with a monologue while she's driving, and she was actually driving. She wasn't being towed, and doing something like that and to pull it off on the level that she did was fantastic. And so
So
it was cool to have her like just on board too.
was Bill Randolph running up along the side of the vehicle saying, "This is my truck."
Yeah. No, it was wild, man. Like I because I'm a big Friday fan, obviously, and I knew she was coming to shoot the scenes, but we had like splitter units that day, so I was off shooting scenes with Johnny walking through the woods while they were shooting the big monologue driving scene. But I got to meet her during our lunch break, so it was just kind of like I was on all in Johnny gear, and we stopped quickly and had something to eat, and I said hi, and I just said I was I'm a big fan and stuff, so. But then I got to meet her again at some festival screenings, and we were actually hanging out about a month ago at a convention in Florida. So we've gotten to be buddies. So it's actually, yeah, it's pretty cool.
I really like her, and her husband is in Girls' Night Out with her too.
Yeah, yeah, he's a good dude too. I met
Yeah,
him in New York. We were at a screening in New York, and he was there on I think it was on his birthday or her. No, I think it was her birthday actually. But yeah, it was a good time.
yeah. So that too, I believe, also added to the extra appeal for In a Violent Nature, which one interesting setup that's being, I mean, we've seen movies that are shot from point of view of killers, like John Carpenter did in Halloween. It was done in the Friday the 13th, but never to this degree where it's like you're identifying with what's going on with the killer,
hmm
which is very unique. So talk about getting cast in that. How did that happen?
Well, they had actually shot a good part of the film before, like a year beforehand, but they ran into a whole bunch of issues, and so they had to actually reshoot everything that they had already shot. So in between that, I mean, while they were doing that, they lost their lead actor who had come down with an allergy, and they had lost uh, their DP who was also doing something else at the time. So like a bunch of crew and cast kind of got switched up, and that's when I came on board. We were aware of each other's work, and somebody suggested me, and so Shannon Hanmer, who's one of the producers, she messaged me, and then I met up with her and Chris Nash, the writer director, and we just had a little chat. They told me the idea, and I thought it was such a cool idea. And then Nash sent me the script, and I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was too. So I mean, I was already aware of their work, and they were a fan of their stuff. But I like you just first slasher movie, you just don't expect something so kind of new, and like the kills in it were so descriptive, and I was just a fan of that right off the bat. So we did a couple of walkthrough tests just to see how like I would move as Johnny and how it would work. And then sat down and watched some films with him and Peter Kaplowski, another one of the producers, and we just kind of found a language for Johnny, and then we started shooting, and it's pretty much it.
Now, did you have any inspirations for how you were going to play Johnny? Like, was there any horror films from the past that you were like, I'm going to lean into this and or something like of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot, like a lot of the stuff we talked about all the Friday characters. I watched all of that, and I went back and I tried to find every slasher film that I hadn't seen. Like somehow, if I could find it in video stores or anything like that, I found as much as I possibly could and watched everything. And then I kind of picked and chose which one specifically. Like My Bloody Valentine was a big one. Obviously, Kane Hodder's version of Jason, and C.J. Graham, um, uh, Nick Castle as the original Halloween in the Halloween as the Shape. And I mean, there's a bunch of others too, but it was more about kind of looking at what really worked with what they did, and then trying not to copy it, but to like amalgamate it into a different version of, you know, kind of a nod to all of those characters and an homage and love to all of them, but then to try and do something different while you could also see some of that in the character too. So it was, it's a fine line to tread because there's there's only so much you can do with a mask and without dialogue and your face covered, and it's all physicality. But like watching each one of those characters, and then like other stuff too, like Doug Bradley, Doug Jones, like those guys do so much work with what they do with character work too. So you just kind of study all that stuff and look at it and try to bring something a little fresh to it. But I mean, The Burning was another big one. Yeah, like everything I could find, I tried to like, put little things into it. But then Chris Nash had an idea too of what he wanted, and the biggest thing was that we didn't want to copy too much of one thing. So we wanted it to, if I was doing a little bit too much of one thing, he'd let me know and we could correct that, and then I'd go a different direction.
It's funny you mentioned My Bloody Valentine. If you ever get a chance, meet Eileen Udy. Who's in the film. She was the one
Oh,
that
okay.
was stuck up in the
Oh, right.
yeah. She's a professional clown now. And she did
Oh,
walks
right
on
on.
stilts and stuff. Yeah, she is an absolute delight. I've had her on here a couple times.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm actually
she,
I'm friends with George Mihalka, who directed the original too. I've gotten the pleasure to meet him over the years, and I actually worked on a film that he was producing too. So it's so cool to like to know this Canadian legend who's directed, one of the greatest slasher films out there.
I gotta get him on here. I've never had him on here. I've had Ellen UT though, and
Yeah.
she's delightful. Yeah, but nonetheless, talk about the process here. Um, did you have, of course, I hear about Steve Dash talking about trying to see through the eye hole in that burlap sack in Friday the 13th part two. Did you have problems seeing through your mask?
Yeah, there was well, I was lucky because Chris Nash he's done a lot of special effects work, and he's worked on a lot of big sets and worked with people and with actors, and so he had the foresight to design different versions of the mask. So the scenes where you see just you're directly behind Johnny walking, I actually had an opening in the mask about like cut like that so I could see perfectly during that stuff. And then there was other versions of the mask where like the eyepieces would come off so I could see clearly out of there. But then anything that's close up or any of the major kill scenes where you see Johnny full on with the glass, um, I couldn't see much because the glass would fog up, and you only have these windows like that to begin with. So that when they fog up, which is pretty immediately, this once you start breathing in there, you kind of have to rely on you do the walkthrough of the scene and you kind of memorize your steps and your movements, and then you kind of like find a safe distance from where you're going to land with the actor, and you really have to just hit those marks to like sell the hits and stuff like that. But I mean, we also had stunt weapons like foam axes and all that, and foam hooks and stuff, so that nobody would actually get hurt. But it is a lot of just muscle memory and like stepping through the scene and then backtracking and making sure you do those same steps.
Did you do your own stunts?
Yeah, I did everything in the film. Yeah.
Awesome. So you did catering too, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you said you did
But
everything.
Johnny couldn't do,
No,
honestly, between the scenes, like all I did was just Johnny, but I did everything that was Johnny. But between takes, I couldn't really do a whole lot because I was in the gear, and I have the latex gloves on, which are all covered in goo and blood and stuff. So I really couldn't even I couldn't like if there was a big break in between scenes, I could take the gloves off, but to take them on and off it could be a bit of a hassle sometimes. So I usually just kept them on if there was like a quick changeover. So I just sat there and just chilled out because I couldn't really read or look at my phone or just kind of like sit there and enjoy the nature and look at what's going on and be present. So it was cool doing that too because it really kind of keeps you focused in what's happening.
So, what was your reaction to the fact that this uh, suddenly is looks like it's going to be gaining quite the following? I mean, it kind of came. I mean, there was a lot of horror movies that did well this year, but In a Violent Nature was one of those ones that came into the zeitgeist of everybody. I first heard of it through um, uh, somebody I know online who's backed some of these kind of movies named Rob Mahoney. And that was where I first heard of it because he recommended it to me and he said it was awesome. So that was where I first heard about it. And then I started hearing about references to the Friday the 13th franchise and the fact it was shot from a very different perspective. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. This is interesting. I like something new.
Hmm.
And then I would hear about the yoga kill. Was that your favorite kill in the movie?
I mean I have to say it because I when I first read it in the script, I was just like, wow, this is crazy. This is such a fun scene. And if they do it exactly the way it's written, it's this is gonna be something special. So it was, yeah, I mean I do love each kill kind of has its own little magical moment. There's something really cool about each one.
Hmm.
The Ranger death scene is also, it's such an extensive and crazy scene. But I mean, each one, like one is like the severed head, and even the swimming sequence, just the way it's shot, everything is done in such a creative way and a unique way that it all I love kind of every aspect of each one, and obviously the ending with the axe. Spoiler alert, but it's that one's I always laugh watching that one because it's just so it's so much.
Are we going to get In a Violent Nature too?
Yeah, yeah. So it's been announced. It's they're working on the script right now. That's the first, first most important thing, and then so I'm just sitting back waiting for the script to see what's it's going to be all about, and I think we'll be shooting it. I'm assuming we'll be shooting it this coming summer.
That is fantastic. So, what was your thoughts when this started to get into zeitgeist, like was there like I'm trying to think of the words, because so many people they work on films for a long time, and a lot of people they do it because they enjoy doing it.
Mhm.
But a lot of times it must be a shocker when you do something and then all of a sudden it clicks and it's out there. What was your reaction to that with this film?
I mean, it's nothing short of like it just blows your mind because I've been doing this for a while, and I've made a lot of films over the years, and with different groups of people, and about very different things and topics, and you kind of always, you're making the film because you want to, and because you love the art and you love making movies and you love the collaborative, creative aspect of that, and I've become addicted to it over the years. I just, I can't see myself doing anything else at this point. So each film that I do is like, I'm doing it for the reason of because I want to do this project, and it's kind of why I've always stayed in doing my own, and I've done a lot of non-union stuff over the years, and I've stayed that way for a longer amount of time just to be able to do these projects and to like play bigger roles, which I wouldn't have been able to play if I was, casting for a big Hollywood movie or something like that. So I got to play these bigger roles, and I got so much experience on set, and so many hours of working with other actors, and dealing with issues that you have to deal with without a lot of money, and have to be creative about it. And so each time you're doing these things, and a film ends and you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm like really proud of this, and it's such a great idea and a cool concept. And so you kind of have your fingers crossed that people are gonna latch onto it or love it, or it's gonna hit that zeitgeist moment. Like, and it just, you can never predict it. You never know when it's going to happen, and it could happen. Like somebody could make a movie and it could be their first movie that does that. You just don't know. But then when it does, all out of nowhere, where you're like, I believe in I've believed in a bunch of films, and not all of them, but I believed in a bunch of films where I'm like, that might be the one, that might be the one. And with this one too, I was like, You never know, like it might be, but it was also such a big swing of a film. It's such a unique thing that you're also like, this is kind of a niche audience, right? So then when that blows up, like you're thinking it's an art house film, and it still kind of is in a way. Um, to see how big a reception and how kind of pop culture it's become is crazy. It's just you can't expect it, and all you do is sit back and appreciate it and soak it in because it could be gone, and and the movie will still be there, but like it could be over in no time, right? But we know we have a sequel at least, so that's cool. We get to revisit some stuff and just kind of go along with it in the meantime because it's out of your control. You just gotta like try and do the best work you can, and then it's gonna speak for itself.
What was it like seeing it on the big screen?
Oh, very, very cool because the first time I actually watched it was at the Sundance premiere. So going to Sundance was a bucket list. Like that's like just a dream of mine. It's always been one of those festivals that's like just I've always watched it and been aware of the history and just movies that have played there over the years. So getting to go there and then to see the premiere and the premiere of all the dates, it actually fell on my birthday. So I was watching this movie in Sundance on my birthday, and I was just like, this is crazy. But yeah, it was an experience. It was yeah, it was amazing.
So did Charlotte Cragen do yoga at the event?
Not in Sundance. No, she was too busy, like answering questions and interviews and just walking the red carpet too. But I mean, I think she's gotten a lot of people asking her, for podcasts and stuff, asking about the kill scenes and stuff too. So
I gotta get her on here. But I gotta say, I wonder how many times that people have reached out to her saying, "Hey, we got a yoga class."
she could probably make some money doing a branding of in a violent nature yoga products or something.
So, what was it like doing that scene with her?
It was very cool. Like just I mean, Charlotte's great already. Off the bat, just very easy to work with, and she's a trooper and was committed to the scene. But it was just so cool watching the special effects artists do their thing and piece it together. And it is such a process. Like that took several days to shoot and to finish. And then they even went and did a little more pickups. And then the way that it's edited, it's such a puzzle piece of a scene. And just to be a part of it and to watch it get made is such a cool thing to be a part
Did she teach you any yoga?
of. No, I'm a little versed in basic yoga. Johnny tries to stay flexible just in case.
Yeah. Um, I want to because I'm not familiar with the rest of your filmography, but I'm looking it up here and I'm like, uh, movie posters definitely catch my attention. And I'm like, okay, I gotta ask you about some of these because I'm like, some of these have sound interesting. Like, tell me about Cult Hero. That looks interesting.
Cult Heroes, I honestly, it's one of my favorite things I've done. I absolutely love that movie. Um, it's a comedy horror, and it's
Oh,
very much
love it.
like a throwback to 80s movies where you had an odd couple paired together that have to deal with a crazy you know villain or something. So this is basically my character is like a failed reality TV star, kind of like Dog the Bounty Hunter meets I don't know every reality TV show like alpha character basically, but he messes up and so he gets canceled. And now the other main character is like a Karen, um, and she's very controlling and just obsessive, and she basically drives her husband a little crazy, a little depressed, and he ends up in a wellness center. But she thinks that it's a cult because they won't let her go see him. So she calls up my character on this late night like call line, and of course I jump into action and want to go help her because I think this is going to be my comeback special. So the two of us team up to try and rescue her husband from this wellness center. It actually does turn out to be a demonic cult.
Oh,
And so we have to rescue him and then infiltrate the cult. But it's a lot of fun. It's like very much in like if you love 80s comedy horror like odd couple pairings, it's very much that.
yeah, I'm looking at it here and I'm like, because I don't want to just stick to in a violent nature. I want to kind of explore some of your other stuff, and
Yeah, for sure.
because, yeah, because one of the great things about podcasts, if I get people on from some of these movies, it could help them find a bigger audience.
Hmm.
But since I haven't seen this movie, was Liv Collins the Karen you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah. So she's basically the co-runner of the company. Her and Jesse Cook, who directed. So she produced, he directed, she acted in it. They both worked on script too with Kevin Revy and Tony Burgess. So it's just like a great team. That's the Collingwood Film Company. So I've worked with them on a handful of stuff. We just had the Hyperborean, which is the same team that just came out too, and it's a similar kind of horror comedy mystery, a little bit of more sci-fi than horror, I'd say, but it's a fun one too. That one just came out.
She's got beautiful hair. I love the red. It's a red hair. That's what it looks like on here.
Yeah, she's a redhead. Yeah,
I love
but she
her.
has a wig. It's a wig in the short haircut, the Karen haircut.
Uh-huh.
That's a wig.
Okay.
She actually
Okay.
has long, beautiful hair.
Yeah, I love red hair. And you said Hyperborean. Okay, let's take a look at that here. We're gonna give you a little bit, introduce a few of these out because you probably don't get to talk about them as much as you'd like, and I kind of want to get some of these out there. So, oh,
Yeah,
she's in this as well.
yeah. So that's the same team. Um, that one's about it's about a rich dysfunctional family, sort of along the lines of something like Succession. But these
Okay.
people, they became famous. Their father's a whiskey baron, so he's been selling whiskey and everything for years. But he came across this Arctic crash site where they unearthed like this barrels of whiskey from like the 1700s. And so he thinks he's found this whiskey that's gonna be worth so much money, and they can sell it and make their final sale and be done, sort of thing. But then so they have that get together to do a whiskey tasting, and they find out that there's a body inside of the barrel, and then that they've all been drinking the whiskey from. And then they find out that the body is like an actual mummified sailor who was trapped in this wreckage. And then they find out there's another element that's also taken over his body that might not be from this world. So then it becomes a bit of a sci-fi mystery. You don't know really what's going on, and the whole thing is told through like an interrogation sort of sequence that keeps flashing back to the family and showing you what happened.
It's funny, it's a small world because I've never seen this movie either, Cheat, but I've had
Yeah.
Shelby Handley on here.
Oh, did you? Oh, right on. Yeah.
Well, I contributed to It's Me Billy.
Oh, right on. Yeah, the Black Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And she was in that. Wow.
Yeah, she's great. We shot that. We shot that actually the same summer that we shot In a Violent Nature and Hyperborean. Those were all shot at the same time. And she cheats like it's like a throwback to like 90s and 80s like psychosexual thrillers like Fatal Attraction, Basic Instinct, like De
And
Palma meets Adrian Lynn kind of stuff.
oh, I love the sound of that.
Yeah, so you probably dig it. It's cool. It's got like a bunch of twists in it. You don't really know what's going on, and it's like might be these people, might this might be the bad guy, this might be the bad guy, but it's yeah, it's an interesting film.
You are selling me on a lot of these. Yeah. And that's great because like I said, you probably get asked about In a Violent Nature a lot, but it's like um I love deep diving and like what else is because that's what I did with Alfred Hitchcock after Psycho, deep
Right.
dive, and but
Yeah,
uh
I got a handful on there that are like if you go on Tubi and just
mhm.
just search my name, there's a bunch of stuff that'll pop up on there that's just it's streaming for free. Um, Beyond the Chamber of Terror, that's a brand new one that just started streaming too, and that one's a lot of fun. It's a big horror comedy. If you said you like some of the like Argento
Yeah.
Italian horror, it's very much an ode to that stuff. So if you like that stuff, check that one out because you'll probably have fun with it.
Okay, now I am looking at this is funny because this happened just yesterday. I'm looking at Massacre at Firmer Creek
Uh,
on here.
yeah.
I forget what I posted on what. I forget, but somebody had posted a comment saying that, yeah, it was something I said about Frightmare in the Falls because I'm going to be there for it. And somebody said, August Keys is going to be there. And here she's listed on this as a hitchhiker.
Oh yeah, right. Right. So I was only on one day on that shoot. I kind of do like a walk on kind of cameo role.
Mhm.
But it's fun, but I and it's another horror comedy. And it was a short film first, and Kyle Hotonen just made like kind of expanded on that and created this new one. So yeah, I have a small role on that I walk on, and it's like a funny thing that's referred to throughout it. But that one, yeah, that one's doing the festival circuit right now too. I actually haven't seen it yet.
Okay, well, I haven't seen it either, but it's like, wow, that name got brought up, and
Hmm.
it's funny because I got her on my friends list. So usually I add people and they have a lot of friends in common with me.
Hmm.
Now I have a reason to reach out to her.
Yeah, it's a small world, man. Well,
It,
like when you've been doing this for a while, you end up crossing paths with people, and everyone kind of knows everybody if you've been doing it long enough.
wow. No, I think this is fantastic. And outside in a violent nature, we'll put that aside. Which one do you recommend I look at first?
Um, The Heretics is really good. That's another really good one from and I think Save Yourself might still be on Tubi too. But yeah, if you can find any of the Collingwood film stuff or the Black Fawn film stuff, the Demolisher, that one's that if you like into violent nature, Demolisher is almost like a it's weirdly has similarities and it's like a B-side one that takes place in the city and I play this like vigilante basically going after people. But that one's really cool too. It's just an interesting different take on like the revenge film sort of thing. Oh, and I was gonna say too. So there's one called Still the Water that is actually that was shot in Prince Edward Island. So that one's more of it's a like a drama, like a family drama with a bit of a mystery injected into it. But that one's if you want to see some local scenery, that was all shot on PEI.
I'm looking at the Heretics right now. You mentioned that. Who's the actress that's kidnapped here? I'm seeing a lot of photos of her on here.
Oh, that's Nina Kiri. She ended up she was on Handmaid's Tale for a while too. She's great,
Okay.
but it's basically like it's a cabin in the woods movie about a cult, but also kind of about demonic possession too. And I don't want to say too much because it does have
Okay.
some twists
No,
involved. But
perfect, perfect. And what was the other one that you recommended down here? You mentioned Heretic.
Heretics was it Chamber of
Oh,
Terror or
oh, you mentioned Demolisher.
oh yeah, Demolisher. That one's on Tubi still. I'm pretty sure. Um, what else we got going on? I don't know. It's hard. I try to recommend stuff, but I try to recommend stuff that is currently streaming somewhere like that where you can find it. A lot of the stuff though, you just go if you go on to Amazon or Tubi or Shutter, you just go on anywhere and just search my name, and then anything that I have out will pop up.
Now I'm seeing like I see a lot of familiar name Jessica Vano or
Yeah,
Vano.
Dano. Yeah,
Okay.
that's my partner. She's from Prince Edward Island. Yeah,
Oh, she's from Potato Land.
yeah, yeah. We've done a bunch of films together. So she's in Demolisher. She's in Cult Hero. She's also in the Hyperborean. She's the lead in the Chamber of Terror. So we've been lucky. We've gotten to do a lot of things together.
Okay, I gotta reach out to some of these people, and get people more eyes on these films. And you just bought yourself some business because I anybody that does my show, I like to give them business at the convention. So
Oh, that's awesome, man.
yeah. So
Appreciate it.
I'll definitely meet you when I'm at Frightmare in the Falls.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I think it's looking like it's gonna be a busy weekend.
Yeah, I know Richard Dreyfuss was on my list to meet, and it's a bummer he's not going to be there.
Yeah, I
But
just saw that.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. One of the things I gotta stop doing is overspending. Because last year at Frightmare in the Falls, I met 31 guests. When I was at Chiller, I met 21. And that can rack up your bill pretty darn.
Yeah, it definitely can.
It can. And I'm trying to keep it down to 10 or 12, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And but I am looking forward to doing this, to going. Um, how many conventions have you done? Do you know?
Um, I'm not totally sure. Like over the years, I've gone to like a bunch in Canada, mostly like Shock Stock and Fan Expo here in Toronto, but like, never usually like as an official guest. I've usually been like a guest at a booth or there to promote a specific film or something like that. So I've just kind of started doing the conventions as an official guest. So like just doing that this year, I've done. I did the one in Florida. That was my first actual guest one in the States. I went to San Diego Comic Con to announce the sequel, but I wasn't there as a guest. Um, and then I did the Sudbury Creature Con just a couple weeks ago, and then Frightmare will be my next one. So yeah, just a handful as an actual guest.
Now, what's it been like for you to do the convention scene? Is it exciting, exhausting? What's your take on the experience?
It's pretty cool. I mean, it can be tiring because you do like you got to be on and you're talking to people like all day, which is cool because it's you're talking about things that you love. You're talking about films and stuff. So it's that comes pretty easily to me because I'm such a just a movie geek. So it's just fun just hanging out with people and talking about film. So I enjoy that a lot, and I enjoy getting to meet other people who are like-minded and who love the same kind of things. And it's, you're a lot of times I'm the only one in the room, or I'll be at a party and I'll be like, "Oh, have you guys seen this movie?" Or like, "Oh, do you know about this actor?" And people, I just get blank stares sometimes if it's not like a film thing or an industry thing, or but I've run into coworkers and stuff who also love horror movies, so it's cool when you run into people like that who are just just as much into it. So at conventions it's a lot of fun to do that because you're just you're with your people kind of thing. So it's like everyone kind of is there for the same reason. You get to hang out and chat, and it's cool to hear feedback because that's the one thing with like a movie that goes theatrical at festivals. You get to go to do the tour and talk to people and hear feedback and talk to people what they liked and all that sort of thing. So it's cool meeting people who you normally wouldn't get to, who got to see the film and maybe have seen it a few times now, and they get to talk to you about like what the favorite parts are and that sort of thing. So it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it right now. I'm sure down the line, maybe 10 years from now, I'll be a little more tired of it, but I'll take it while I can get it.
Now, like I said, I've done a few with Lisa Langlois. I've done four horror ramas. This will be my fourth Frightmare in the Falls. I did one Toronto Comic Con and I did New Jersey Chiller. Um, I'm looking into doing Fan Expo next year because although he canceled, I know they were supposed to have John Cleese there this year, and I was like, oh, that would have been yeah,
Cool to me. Yeah, he's awesome.
yeah. So I'm kind of like yeah, I enjoy doing the cons, especially like getting the autographs and handing my business card out and stuff like that. Um, which is another thing Lisa had instructed me to do is do business cards. Um, but when you did them as a fan, talk about some of the people you met and the impressions you got.
Um, I honestly I didn't. I've met. I met Kane Hodder. I met him a couple times. I actually got to meet him on a Friday the 13th. That was at Shockstock. I think it was actually 2013.
Is
Friday.
it true that Shock Stock is going to be done next year?
They're doing it. I know it is happening again in 2025.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's gonna be the last. It's always kind of it's always like a mystery. You don't know if it's gonna be the last one or if there's gonna be another one. And then the guys they keep putting it together. So like as long as they keep doing that, people keep showing up for it. So
Yeah.
as long as people keep showing up, I think it'll keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun time. If you get a chance to go to that, it is a really fun time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like I honestly haven't met a whole lot of people like at the conventions. Usually when I'm there, I'm at a booth where I'm kind of like relegated to the booth for the most part, and then I'll do a walk around here and there or whatever. But I've gotten to meet some cool people. Drew Struzan, the artist, he's done like some amazing classic works over the years. I got him to sign my John Carpenter's The Thing poster that he designed. So that was pretty cool. And then it's just like I mean, Comic Con, I got to meet at San Diego. I got to meet a whole bunch of people that I just never thought I'd get to meet. So that was cool, just bumping into huge celebrities that I just turned around and I'm like, oh, there's Chris Hemsworth. Oh, there's Florence Pugh. Like there were just huge stars kind of everywhere. And because we were in like the back rooms before we did our panel and the announcement for the sequel and stuff. Like there was just like Kevin Feige, who's the head guy of Marvel, was just walking around there. It's just like I'm looking around, just going like, this is crazy. So
I get goosebumps if I met Emma Stone. Emma Stone's been my crush since Super Bad, you know.
yeah, oh yeah, she's great. I just watched her in Kinds of Kindness.
I
And
did too. I actually, and Lisa taught me how to do this. Um, the thing on your phone where you can do directions, because I'd never been to St. John or Moncton by myself before. We
okay, yeah.
didn't get kinds of kind. In fact, I had to see Poor Things in Toronto last year when I was there for Frightmare.
Oh, right.
And
Poor Things is great too.
yeah, well, I always go see anything Emma Stone's in, and um, but I actually drove to Moncton to see Kinds of Kindness because we didn't get it here. I wanted to see it, and I told them at the ticket booth, I said, I want you to thank Emma Stone because she's the reason I drove here and did this, you know? Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's dedication.
Yeah. Oh, I love Emma Stone. Um, anytime she pops up, I got to see her, you know?
Oh, she's great.
Um,
She's such a phenomenal actress too. Just so talented, so funny, but then can do the drama too. And did you watch The Curse, the show that she did?
I've seen bits and pieces. Like, I don't have television.
Oh, okay,
My television is set up to watch my Blu-rays,
gotcha.
but I'm certainly aware of it because, you know, anything she's in, I'm aware of.
If you get a chance, I'm sure it'll probably get released on like a Blu-ray version or something. Get watch that because it is she's so good in it, and it's just it's such an awkward, cringy show, but on purpose. Like it constantly just makes the viewer feel uncomfortable because of the situations that they create, and she's so good at it.
Yeah. Love her. Her first movie was Super Bad. I saw Super Bad. I have it here on Blu-ray, and I've been kind of just following her ever since, you know. And I don't like every movie she's done, but I like a lot of them. And just even watching her being interviewed, I'm like, man, crush aside, she seems like a cool person even just to hang out with.
Yeah, she does. She seems really cool. Like when seeing her on the award shows and stuff, or just in interviews,
Yeah,
she seems really down to earth still and intelligent and funny at the same time.
yeah. So I like her. But nonetheless, speaking of horror people, if you ever get a chance, meet Felissa Rose
Oh yeah, yeah. I I,
because
I have a
she
feeling I'll bump into her at a convention sooner than later because she's at a bunch of them.
she amps. I've never had her on here, but I've met her twice at cons. She amps it up to 11. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, she is totally on, totally on. I'll tell you, when you meet her, she is like she'll give you a big hug, you know, and she'll do a picture with the Angela face. And if she's stationed there with uh oh Sheridan there, why am I blanking on his name? He'd done a bunch of movies with him, and he was Officer Doofy in Scary Movie.
Oh, okay, right on. Yeah.
Well, he shows up sometimes in costume, the Officer Doofy costume. And I have gotten them to interact because I would say, Officer Doofy, Angela's at the table next to, and he'd have that vacuum cleaner. Watching them interact is something else, you know. Um, when I was at Chiller, Charo was another one.
Uh,
She amped it right up to like, you get some people, it's like they're there for the money, you know, you meet them, the sign. And then there's others, you can tell it's not just a money thing. You could tell they're having fun.
yeah, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. I mean, you want to project that to fans and to other people who are just, fans of films in general too. So like, yeah, I mean, like, I hope I never seem like I don't want to be there too for people, because like I obviously want to be there for these things, and meeting these people, and getting to talk, about just films in general too.
Did you ever look and see who you're going to be seated by?
No, I don't know yet. I haven't thought to even look at that. So maybe I'll actually look at the floor plan and see if it's listed yet or not. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the floor plan is listed.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out, because there's some big people there that I'm like, I mean, Sam Raimi, Greg Nicotero, friggin' Tom Savini, like there's Eli Roth. Like those are
Sam Raimi canceled. Ted Raimi will be there though.
Oh, did he? Okay, so Ted Raimi. That's cool though,
Yeah.
man. Some big names. And I met Greg Nicotero in San Diego actually. They AMC hosted a dinner for all the people involved in their shows and their movies. So we got invited there, and there was a bunch of the cast members from Walking Dead, and Greg Nicotero was there, and a bunch of cast from Interview with a Vampire. And we actually got to sit down, and I was like having dinner with Carol from Walking Dead, and Lauren Cohen. Why it's not Carol's, not her actual name. That's and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. They were all sitting right there, and we were all chatting, and I was just kind of like, Chris Hardwick was sitting there too. Yeah, it was cool.
Was Lauren, how lovely was she in person?
Oh, she was a sweetheart. Yeah, she was really nice.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
looking at you here on the floor plan. Now, it could change because when I did this with Lisa Langlois last year, who she was listed to be seated by and who she ended up being seated by ended up changing. But according to this, you're going to be in between David Cadams from Friday the 13th, Part 3, who I've had on here before, and Christina Elise.
Oh, nice.
Yep, according to this. And yeah, Christina Elise is on my list to meet as well.
Very cool.
Yeah. So there, that's where they got you positioned there. Have you met Blood Opera, the band Blood Opera yet?
No, I haven't. I know, I'm aware of them, but I haven't met them yet. But I have some friends who are friends with them.
Yeah, I've had them on here a couple times, and I met them through Lisa. I got their CD,
Oh, okay,
so
right.
they're going to be there Saturday. You should definitely connect with them because they might even put you in a video. I've connected them with a couple people for videos, so
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I've got some friends who I actually have some friends who worked with them on some videos, I think too. So yeah, I'm
You
sure
know,
I'll.
they were christened by George Romero.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
because when they pitched the idea for their band about getting dressed up in ghoulish costumes and performing horror themed song, um, they're pitching it to George Romero, and as they tell it, they said, you know, it probably sounds like a stupid idea, and they said George Romero said, no, you got to do it, you got to do it, you know. And that was all the encouragement they needed, you know. So, and they put on a great show, I'll tell you that. I've seen them.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
They're playing, are they playing at the Halloween party on Saturday night? Is that
I don't know if they're performing. They're only going to be there Saturday.
Oh, okay.
They'll be there at the rehearse. But definitely, if you get a chance to meet them because they're a great bunch of guys.
Yeah, we'll do, man. There's I know the only thing I have other than being at the booth. Saturday I have there's a panel. They're doing a panel on in a violent nature at like 1:15, I think. So that's the only I'll be gone for maybe an hour during that time, but then I'm sure I'll run into them or
Yeah, they'll be there probably with their hearse.
oh cool.
Oh
Cool.
yeah, they drive around a hearse. Um, Unfortunately, Night Chill won't be there, but that's another band I recommend with Taya Munster.
Oh yeah, right, right. She
Yeah,
does the she has the what's the thing called where she does the
yep.
yeah, the theremin, yeah.
I've interviewed her and I met her at Fright or at Horror Rama the last time Horror Rama did a show and it was great to see her perform.
That's cool. Yeah, she used to I
So
think she used to organize the Toronto zombie walk.
yes,
I don't,
she did.
yeah,
We
yeah.
had a couple of those in Fredericton here, and I've attended them. Of course, I don't get dressed up because I look dead enough. But anyway, what's coming up in the future? What do you got coming up besides in a Violent Nature too? And
Um, other than the other ones that we mentioned there, Cheat and Beyond the Chamber of Terror,
Mhm.
Hyperborean, those are all new ones. They just came out. I did a puppet horror movie a couple years, well, about a year and a half ago, and it's done by a bunch of special effects artists, and that should be coming out pretty soon, probably this winter, I think, or sooner. It might maybe it'll screen this fall. Um, that one's called Kilgore in the Abyss, or I keep mixing up because I haven't seen the actual title card in a little bit, but it's literally it's like Conan meets the Thing. So
Oh, nice.
it's like yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And then I just finished shooting another one called Turn It Up, which is with the same team who did Cult Hero and Hyperborean, and that one has some great comedic gems in it. Some of the people from the Baroness Font sketch show and the kids in the hall. Like there's yeah, Bruce McCulloch from that. We got to do some scenes together. It was so much fun. Hardest thing was between him and Chris Siddiqui. I'm sitting there doing scenes with these two hilarious guys, and I'm just biting my cheeks trying not to mess up the scene.
I love
So that
brain
was a lot of fun.
candy.
And that one's about a rock and roll band that finds a song that can open up a portal to another world, like hell, basically, and things just go crazy from there. So it's I think that one will be a lot of fun.
I love brain candy. Kids in the
Oh,
Hall
great!
did.
Yeah, so much fun, so great,
I
man.
saw that in the theater.
Yeah, I'm a longtime Kids in the Hall fan, so getting to do that was so cool.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know what? I'll be at Frightmare in the Falls. I look forward to seeing you there. If I can snag it, I'm gonna get that In a Violent Nature Blu-ray
Yeah, for sure, man.
and bring it with me to get that signed, you know?
Yeah,
So yeah.
and I'll
So
I'll have posters there and stuff too. I'm actually just working. I gotta get my last few things printed before it's too late, so I can bring it.
so you're not gonna have the Charlotte in front of your table doing yoga stuff to attract people to come over?
Not that I know of, but you never know. Maybe some of them will just show up. You never know. You never know who will just show up when they live nearby, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what, Roy, thank you so much for allowing me the honor to chat with you today.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I'll put you on my roster for next year because I have a lot of guests come back on here, and by then I may have got to see some of these movies and maybe go into them in a little more detail. Plus, you may have some projects, new projects out that you want to promote. So
Yeah, man, for sure. Just let me know and we'll set it up.
absolutely, absolutely. Before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Yeah, for sure, man. What do you want me to say?
Just state your name and that you are the killer from In a Violent Nature, and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
All right. Hey there, folks. I'm Rye Barrett. I play Johnny from In a Violent Nature, and you are watching Greg Gilbert with the Python Paradise.
Absolutely, folks. And he's not wearing that mask anymore. Now he's giving himself away. Now people are going to come after him now. The law enforcement, they're going to say you caused some terrible stuff in the woods to yoga people.
Yeah, yeah. Beware.
Do you get banned from yoga centers?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I try to. I usually do yoga just at either at home or in my the gym in the downstairs in the building. But I might. I mean, it might make sense if Johnny was banned. It might be
Yeah.
like Namaste dead.
There you go. There you go. Well, I look forward to meeting you, and I thank you for coming on here today. This was a lot of fun. Folks, check out In a Violent Nature because here we are on the 20th of October. It's coming out in 2 days, folks. So pick it up on Blu-ray, bring it to Frightmare in the Falls, and get this gentleman to sign it, or he'll have his own merch there. So
And it's
yeah.
streaming on Shutter right now too. So if you have Shutter, it's on there right now too. So, but the Blu-ray's got a lot of extras on it too. So it's a good one to grab.
Absolutely. I love watching my Blu-rays, so there you go.
All right, man. Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You take care and God bless.
You too, brother. Take care, my man.
Yeah, bye-bye.